All right, thanks for coming, folks. Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Virtual Marathon. We're still running in mile 7, running or jogging, however you'd like to look at that. Up next, we have Suzanne George talking about the Teams Accelerators in action, and what I'll do is turn it over to Suzanne. Suzanne, all yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. We're almost nearing the end of the virtual marathon. I want to thank our hosts. There are so many of them to count, but thank you very much for allowing us all to come present on topics that we love to talk about. Today, I'm going to be speaking just a little bit about Microsoft Teams Accelerators in action. What I'd like to do with this session is really talk to you about what is out there in the freely available for you to put in and enhance your team's experiences, from SharePoint to Power Apps to Microsoft Teams, and how can they all work together to give you a lot of ideas on how to get started to really elevate your team's experiences. So before we get started, I do want to make a few small announcements. One is just check your calendars and mark your calendars for the Microsoft 365 Collaboration Conference. I was very fortunate to be able to speak at the SharePoint conference last year, and I know it's going to have a lot of great sessions this year. Thank you to our sponsors, Proficient, AppPoint, Valo, Pointfire, KWiz, Affirma. They're all wonderful sponsors, and we're really glad that they're able to help us put on such a great show. So thank you very much to our sponsors and all of the volunteers that have been helping build all of these tracks and the sessions and keeping us on schedule. So let me take just a few minutes and introduce myself. My name is Suzanne George. I am otherwise known as SP Genie. I was able to get this Twitter account very, very long ago for SharePoint Genie, way back when. I am a chief architect at Cognizant, and I just like to do gardening and cupcakes. So my garden right now has lots of veggies. Zucchinis was the order of today, so pretty excited about getting zucchinis soon. Other things you might know is I am a Microsoft Regional Director, and I specialize in Office 365 and cloud technologies. So really focusing on that leadership and how can you really transform your productivity experience using the Microsoft Office 365 platform. And then finally, I am from Texas. It's nice and sunny outside today, hoping that it is good weather wherever you are in the world. Be sure to stay safe and all that stuff inside if you have challenges. So there is a raffle, and I did a little bit of sleuthing to see if I were what this was and was it really cool. And I have to say, all of the things that I've read about this particular goggles, they are so amazing. My nephew has a previous version, and it's really wonderful. So please do register for the raffle. You do have to get 5 correct answers to win one of these Oculus Quest devices, but they are amazing. So please be sure to do that. So let's get started. Right now, we're all talking teams. The order of the day is teams. You probably can't go more than 2 or 3 conversations without being in Teams, a Teams meeting, a Teams conversation, a Teams chat. But what else is there to do besides chat, meetings, having voice, video, live meetings, live streaming like we're doing today? So what I'd like to do is tell you just a little bit about, the momentum coming around Teams. As you're aware, Teams momentum in just weeks has increased astronomically. 75 million is the latest number produced by Microsoft. I asked about that just today. In March, you can see over the last 30 days, they were just up millions and millions of team members right before COVID. But the important thing to note here is that Teams is a platform. And it's a platform where you can really take business processes and line of business apps to the next level. Think of it as what I call maybe I need to integrate with other third-party apps that are line of business apps internal into my organization, or maybe they are other external apps like Trello or Visual Studio or any of those third-party apps like Jira or something that we use in our daily activities. And how all of this works together is it really helps us to communicate and collaborate with each other to be more productive and say, look, I need to co-author with Joe or Sally and maybe even Sam, and I have a question, so I can quickly chat and have a conversation with them. Or maybe I could build in some application that does some business process workflow using the Power Platform. All of these things are available to me in a single hub. I can reach out and touch someone via their phone. I can touch them with their iPad or their tablet, wherever they are. I have the ability to have meetings. I can integrate Power Apps, which I can develop in just mere days instead of weeks and months. I have line of business apps, SharePoint sites. All of these things can be surfaced to me all in one place in a single location. And today what we're going to do is really talk about not so much the calling and the meetings and the chats, because those things we know how to do, or files, that sort of thing. But how can we extend beyond that into line of business integration, dashboards, third-party apps, and what is available from Microsoft to help us along in our journey? So just to help level set the stage, if we were thinking about the architecture that we needed to be able to build and what types of things we can build on and what are the tools in our trade, if I were wanting to go try to understand how can I incorporate a line of business app or a third-party app into my architecture, your app may be sitting way up here at the top, but there's all of this team platform that is built and ready and available for you. You have your Microsoft Cloud, you have maybe some other cloud that you're using, maybe it's not Microsoft. You also may have some on-premise applications that things are behind the firewall. You may have some SharePoint solutions that are back there, absolutely able to be connected to via APIs and business logic. Those APIs can be accessed via Graph APIs, Teams APIs. You can even build your own APIs. We have several applications that have building their own APIs to connect to custom specialized web service apps that are on premise through Azure. So the way that we can present this to the users is through tabs, bots, adaptive cards, messaging extensions, tasks, and notifications. And we're going to walk through these all in a few minutes. But the things that you can also use to leverage tabs, bots, adaptive cards, etc., are things like Azure Elements, Azure Integration, SharePoint Framework, elements that are within SharePoint. So if I were to build something within SharePoint, I could also surface that same web part within Teams with just a little bit of extra configuration. I have Power Apps, I have Power Automate, I have all of our Power Platform, Power BI that is able to be surfaced, and anything that's a website we can also surface. So what does this mean? This means that we have a platform that we can approach in 3 separate phases. One is once we get Teams out there and out the door and everybody kind of understands the baby steps, how can we create or start creating low-code, no-code solutions very, very quickly? We have many, many stories from airline industry and retail industry where we've been able to have a problem presented and actually deploy it into the organization in days or multiple days. We deployed a application into an airline industry within 24 hours of its request, and we thought it was just going to be a short-term solution to an issue that they were having with their planes, and have found that since it was so valuable and so easy to use for their move crews to move the airplanes, that they're actually going to extend that usage out beyond even the COVID. So really thinking about what is low-code, no-code solutions that we can bring. And then once you've got that figured out, you can then build more extensive solutions with full UX, graph APIs, line of business integrations, and really start thinking about what is that repeatable IP that I could potentially bring to my organization. So if we think about the different app templates that are available, these are the ones we're going to be looking through today. There are some that are available right now. Advanced Search, Icebreaker, these are just a few, and there's some that are coming soon. Literally every day, Microsoft is coming out with new applications and templates for us to use and get inspiration from, and I am going to be showing you a lot of links of, you can bookmark and you can keep track of what are the new things that are coming, because literally in a week, I've seen a couple of new templates coming through. So let's just take a quick moment and look at some of these templates that we have available to us. Bring my browser up. So this is the link. In the deck, you will actually see the full link. So if you can't read this, it's okay. You'll be able to get that in just a few minutes. But app templates for Microsoft Teams. This is where you're going to be able to get a full list. You can see this list here. All of these app templates, and literally they are updating these faster than we can keep up with. There are a couple that are not here that I would like to call your attention to. One is a Kronos integration app. You'll find that on GitHub. There's a couple of others that you can also find that are app templates on GitHub. that have to do with meetings and calling, which we're not going to necessarily go through today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through these and kind of give you what we found when we've implemented these, what were the best features that we found when we were implementing them is from different organizations. So you can pick and choose and decide which one you think you might want to start with. The first one is the Celebrations app. It's an app that is all about celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, reoccurring events. When we've attempted to bring this into various organizations, some things that we found, we ran up against privacy issues. So you might be sure before you deploy this into your organization that you really check with HR and potentially your legal team to make sure that birthdays and anniversaries can be deployed into your organization and be shared in this way. We have a pretty extensive security review process on any of our applications that we deploy into our organization. And this one we had to make some modifications to in order for us to see it, because in some countries you have to be very careful about being able to show these kinds of dates. So just a thought about Celebrations app if you want to use it. It's actually really great and fun, but you might want to think about modifying that before you deploy it in your organization. The Company Communicator App, this one is actually really wonderful. I'm going to show you a quick demo of it, but basically you can do communications to your organization or to specific people in your organization with barely a click, and you don't clutter up their inbox, and you make sure that they're actually able to see this. This is a different way to think about how can I communicate to my organization or specific set of people within my organization. So I'm going to jump right over to Teams here, and we will just quick show you what the communication app looks like. So when it is deployed in my organization, I, as the administrator of the communication, so this would be done by your Corp Comm or marketing or whoever is the leader of this particular effort, is going to be able to see all of the messages that were sent and any messages maybe that are draft and or create a new message. Now, what's really great is if I click on this one that says, "This is awesome," it is one that I've already sent out into my organization that says, "This is awesome. The session starting a certain time. This is when all of the message was completed. This is how long it took to do the messages." And we had 2 people's success. And what's nice is I actually am able to do a call to action button right here. So let's go rebuild this message so that you can see what it looks like. Here we are. This is amazing event. We will make the image URL we're going to take from our copy image address. Just paste it right in. Oops. Yep. Okay, this is live demo. Copy image address one more time. Okay, it doesn't want to paste in. There it goes. And I can type in a summary. This is a test. I type in my author. I can take my button here, click here. And then I can put in a URL, which I can put in maybe I want them to go to Microsoft.com or the event. So you can see the card gets actually displayed as it comes through. And when I click the next button, it's actually going to send it up here and it's going to be ready to send. What users see when this happens is an alert in their lower right-hand corner with their activity. And it will look something like so. Right here is that same card that I just sent. This is awesome. Here's the image. Here's that this is a test, the name. And if I click on Get More Info, it's going to allow me to jump right to the virtual marathon site because I had configured that as my site. So this is a really great way to get information to specific people or to your entire organization without actually having to send an email. You get to see how many people it actually made it to. And you can even extend this because you get the code to even allow more buttons or more features as you need. So this is actually a really great thing for you to do. You can see I have one up here that is another test with another image. Some other things that you might want to think about when you're coming through here is the FAQ Plus bot. Now they've just made some new enhancements to it. So if you haven't seen it lately, I definitely encourage you to download this one, take a look. The FAQ Plus bot allows you to do expert sessions. It does more edit and delete Q&A pairs. It actually remembers as people are making answers and questions to answers, it puts that in the FAQ so that it can actually answer that the next time. I'm going to quick do a demo here of the FAQ bot. Come over here and I will start out asking the question as a separate user. So give me 1 second. Let me get the question over here. Oh, it's not there. So let me just show it to you over here because for some reason it's not showing up. So if I were to ask a question of the FAQ bot, I'm going to click on the chat window. And here's FAQ Plus. Notice that there are lots of questions here and answers and things that I've even asked. And it even says, hey, look, ask an expert. So I'm going to say, help with insurance policy. I need some more help with my insurance policy. It's going to go look it up and see if there's anything around an insurance policy. And this is a demo tenant, so it's going to take it a little bit. But what's going to happen is it's going to respond and say, hey, this is what I have found. There's lots of things about an insurance policy. Does this help you? And I'm going to say, well, yes, it does, or maybe it doesn't. So I say, well, no, I need to ask an expert. When I click on ask an expert, actually my phone is going off here. It's going to say, hey, what is the title? This need help with my phone, or excuse me, my insurance policy for my phone. And then click on submit, ask an expert. And I will actually get a notification in my window over in another screen that says, hey, look, you have a new notification. Someone needs help with their insurance policy. It'll say it's been created, nobody's assigned to it. But if I were the assignee, I can click over here on Teams and look under support team. And notice I need help with insurance policy for my phone is right here. I'm requesting support. As the support analyst, I can chat with me. I can view an article. I can change the status, meaning I can take the ticket. I can assign it to me. I can leave it. I can close it. So I'm going to go ahead and close it because we're going to say, hey, this is all done. Submit. And then I, as the user, am getting a notification on my phone that says, hey, look, this has been closed. So it'll take it just a second and it'll close up this. And you'll see this, hey, your ticket has been closed. So this is something that is actually, you can extend this pretty easily to include additional things, include a specific help desk team that you wanted to go to. It's a pretty extensible. So I would highly recommend if you want to take a look at this to see how you can use this within your organization. It's actually quite interesting as far as the development and things that you can do with it. Other things you can do is an HR support bot. It's very, very similar to the FAQ Plus, except it's more specific around, hey, somebody's requesting support. How can I get their support status? So if you want to try to explore that one is also very similar to FAQ that I just showed you. The SharePoint list search app, this is actually very cool. We have this implemented in our production tenant. And it allows you to search SharePoint lists through a very easy to use interface. So if you have SharePoint extensively used within your organization, this is definitely one you want to try to see and explore if it works for you. Some things we had trouble with specialized columns and custom columns and different things. So you might want to make sure that you take a look at it and compile it and make sure it works for you. Custom stickers is something our OCM teams absolutely love. They love these stickers where you may want to turn off the stickers by default and only allow your organization to use certain types of stickers. This is actually kind of neat because it allows you to limit what people can use. Icebreaker bot, I will show you Icebreaker bot. This is one that is a replacement, if you will, to our hallway conversations. As you're aware, when we're all virtual, we have a little bit more of a hard time meeting up with people or reconnecting with those people in our department that we haven't seen in a while. And Icebreaker bot allows us to have a conversation with those people, and it'll schedule time on both of our calendars wherever it is mutually possible. So if I look over here, I have a Icebreaker bot. It is installed and running. You'll see, hey, I have these with Ramesh. I want to propose a meetup. Maybe I want to chat. Maybe I want to pause all matches because I'm really kind of busy for the next couple of weeks and I really don't have access or time to meet with you, but maybe I want it a little bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, propose a meetup. It's immediately going to take me to the calendar tool, and it's going to try to come up with a time. Notice I'm red here, and that's because I am busy and I'm unable to meet right now, but maybe I could meet a little bit later, and it'll give me some guidance and advice on how to do that. So Icebreaker Bot, definitely one that will help you get engaged with your employees if you're looking for ways to have conversations and meetups with different people. Scrum Status, this is one that we're actually implementing inside of our DevOps teams. We have a lot of different things that we're doing with DevOps and DevOps integrations. Definitely a good way to do Scrum Status. In my other session, I actually talk about how you might be able to use SharePoint lists to allow people to do status and status updates. And you might want to use that in combination with this Scrum Status Bot to take a look at that. There are other ones here that I'm going to skip through: book a room, attendance, associate insights, incentives. Our OCM team absolutely loves this bot, incentives, because it really helps them understand what the adoption is of their teams and how to get people engaged in using, especially as you roll out teams or maybe a new functionality that's within Office 365. Our OCM really likes this app. So if you're in the OCM team, you might request getting this particular one available. There are lots of others here. And again, they're just amazing how much work Microsoft is putting in to providing some templates and tools for us to use to get started. So with that, we're going to go right back here to our, there we go. Oh, I don't know what's going on with my mouse. All right, accelerators. So this is the link I just showed you about, which is getting started with Teams and getting started with those accelerators. But there's lots of other things you can do. There's Microsoft Small Business templates, just like what I showed you for regular templates, that there are specific ones that are tailored to Microsoft Small Business. So definitely take a look at those. Some other things that you might need to or be aware of or should be aware of about things you can use is the customer experience labs. If you are a partner, you most likely have access to demos.microsoft.com. These allow you to do real experiences within the Microsoft platform. Let me just show that to you real quick. This is what it looks like. I can choose different demos that I might want to see. I can filter them down by teams, or I can showcase different functionalities that maybe are here, different products within Microsoft. Again, if you're a partner, you have access to this. Right now, due to COVID, they have turned off all of the fully implemented tenants and everything is just assets. But even the assets are really great resources for you to use on how to help kickstart your customers' engagements with teams and how to get more acceleration ideas on getting productivity with teams. Other things that you might find are the self-paced labs. Self-paced labs also is down at the moment, but you can log in, and this is open to anyone within that is the Office 365, and you can do a self-paced lab. Right before COVID, they had over 150 labs that you can choose, and they're actually a virtual environment where you get to go in a very safe space, play around with development, learn new things, learn and explore different features and functionalities and get learning. And it's like a self-guided tour on the right-hand side. It's a really wonderful. So I encourage you to keep this link, because as soon as Microsoft is able to bring this back up, it's a definite resource that you're going to want to look at. Also, another resource to look at is the Microsoft Learn site. The Learn site has a lot of resources that are available to you. And these are kind of what I call walkthroughs. So if I want to learn how to prepare for let's see if I can come up with one. How about we do created embedded experiences with tabs? Actually walk through this particular lab. I can start, and it actually tells me step by step how to create a custom Teams personal tab, how to put it in a channel, how to put it in a group, how to put it on the left-hand rail, all those sorts of things. So definitely take a look at that, because it's very interesting, and there's lots of different ways you can use the self-paced labs. Finally, advanced learning on custom apps. Here is some more different links for you to use to get more and continue your journey on demos. And finally, we have some Power Platform demos. So let me just quick show you a couple of things about the demos that we can see here. So when you're doing your apps, one of the things that you want to make sure that you have access to is what is called App Studio. If you click on App Studio, this is where you can configure your application into your team's environment. You can do it through this way for you to do testing and development, and then you can have your team's admin do it through the portal for a more formal rollout. But what are so there's a couple things here that I want to call your attention to as you're building your own apps. One of them is you can start very simply and say, hey, I have a link here inside SharePoint. This is my link inside SharePoint. I'll go ahead and make it big so you can see the whole page. It's just a simple page. I can copy this link, and in my manifest editor, I can actually link this over to the left-hand rail. See the left-hand rail right here. So here we are in my manifest editor. I have a whole lot of different apps here that are available, but let's take a look at the portal intranet. Here's the portal intranet. I filled out some information. I generated an identification key, put in some package name and version information. We'll call this version 0.1. And then we can say corporate intranet is the description, our partner ID if you have one, put in some links and logos. But the next thing you'll want to think about is how do I put in a tab? And right here I have a portal tab. And if I were to edit this, you'll see that it's the name of the portal, the GUID that I have assigned this particular tab, and then my URLs that I want it to point to. Now, if I were to go ahead and change this to the URL that I just showed you and click Save, it's actually going to save this into my left-hand rail, and I will be able to deploy it. So if I were to click on Test and Distribute, I can say, hey, install this for my testing. Maybe I want to download it and send it to my team's admin so he can deploy it for everyone to see in the organization, or maybe I want to submit it to the team's app store. I can do all of these things. And what happens is when that's done, it actually points it up here into the left-hand side. So let me just let me show you how to do the same exact thing with a Power App. Now this particular Power App, Crisis Communicator, let's see if I can locate this thing. Here it is. This is a Power App. We're going to follow the exact same thing, all of the same stuff on the main page. But when I look at the tabs, I have Crisis Communication App, but I have changed it to be my Power Apps URL. So any URL that you have in your organization, whether it's an Office 365 URL, maybe it's a SharePoint Online URL, maybe it's even your line of business app, or maybe it is some other third-party app, you can put the URL here, and very likely it's going to be able to come in on this left-hand rail, and you can even, as the tenant admin, prioritize where it sits. So you can see I have my Crisis Communication App above my Activity app over here on the left-hand side. Now, the Crisis Communication App, I do want to point out, this is a Power App accelerator that is provided by Microsoft. You can deploy this in mere minutes on your tenant, and it allows you to do things like making requests, identifying and understanding who are emergency contacts, provide FAQs, and it's really extensible. Even though it was specifically designed for COVID, you can take this particular Power App and change it out, and maybe it's your marketing initiative for the new internet. Maybe you want to change this and make it a launch initiative for a new service or solution that's going out to market. And you can have this where you can say, hey, I need to get some help about this thing. Maybe I want to get some more information about how do I send it to market. Maybe I want to get who are the specific contacts, where are the links that I can see some more material, maybe on the internet or other things. So this is very extensible, and I would highly recommend you download the Crisis Communication App that comes from Microsoft and take a look at it and see if there's something that you can do to make it your own and bring it in to your organization. We've brought this in as is to several organizations worldwide, and we've even made customizations and brought it to others. So this is a great template for you to use within your organization. So again, left-hand rail, very important if you need to be able to use that, but then also you have things that you can put inside your teams. Now, something that I want to mention here is when you are creating your teams, you can programmatically create a team template. So here I have a support team with different channels. I have a crisis communication with different channels, and I have a communications program with different channels. Notice it has private channels, public channels, etc. I can programmatically, using the Graph API, create a copy of this communications program exactly as is with all of the various channels. You can see I have done it here. So if I move this up so that you can see it easier. This is a copy built by the Graph API. So think more globally. Think, how can I bring in team templates, team defaults, configuration setup. So if I have a lot of projects that I'm running in my organization and I want a default project management template through the Graph APIs, you can build a bot that will allow you to do so. And in fact, we have one. I can just quick show you. We called it a provisioning bot. And this provisioning bot is something that is pretty straightforwardly created that allow you to create a team, create a site, create channels. If I click on create team, I can see I can create different team names. I can have different options all through an adaptive card. When I click submit behind the scenes, it'll go and create the team, all the channels, put default files in there, tabs, all that sort of thing, so that you don't have to remember how to do it. So this is a great option for you to choose as an accelerator or to build if you desire. So these links are really great for you to remember. Hopefully you can take a screenshot of those and you can look at them at your leisure. All of the ones that we have built from the Teams templates were very straightforwardly installed and configured. The one that we did have a little bit of trouble was the Communicator app because we had to do a bit more work in the Azure. But other than that, all of the other ones that we have built, which I think we've built all but 2, were fairly straightforward and the instructions were very clear in GitHub. So let me just quick show you a couple more things around Power Apps and Power App accelerators that you might want to use to integrate inside your Office 365 teams. So let's take a look at an example. I have this Power App, and this is an accelerator coming from Microsoft. I was able to get it using the Power App Demos site. I just linked to it, logged in, and they have a couple of different Power Apps I can choose, and I chose this one, and it says, hey, look, this is Contoso Cable. Have you ever heard of different things? This is really great. And this Power App is actually quite interesting, but it's even more interesting if I can bring it inside a single pane of glass. So now I have that same Power App, but it's sitting alongside a customer support team. Inside the team, I have approval requests, I have the customer service, I have general, and some things you might do is, hey, I need to do some posts, maybe I need to have some conversations, or maybe I need to bring in a Power BI report so that I can get more information around what is going on with Contoso Cable from a more high-level perspective. And then I can also link in my Contoso Cable Power App. So be thinking as you're building in your integrations using all of these accelerators, how can I start merging these together, not just bringing one or bringing another, but how can I merge 3 or 4 together to really enhance the experience and elevate it even far and above what we get out of the box. Another demo that I'd like to show is how you can actually come up with different ways to get your existing line of business apps to connect. And the way that you can do that is through Microsoft Flow or the Power Platform, Microsoft Power Apps and the APIs. So one of the things we have been doing is trying to get ways to get our legacy apps to communicate with our teams so that they will notify the teams when things are happening or when they're not happening. And one of the ways that we were doing that is with Flow. And what we did was, if I go to Flow here, we were using the adaptive cards to post inside channels, inside teams, different pieces of information. So let me just show that to you. Show you my flows. Now inside flows, you have many, many different templates that you can choose from. I can search for a template. Look, here's how I can tell my sales teams. These are templates. So, hey, I'm on the go. Maybe I need to improve my productivity. Maybe I need to make software development easier. Yeah, that looks good. I'll click on this one. So it will actually showcase, here are a bunch of built-in flows that I can use that literally I don't even have to code very much at all. I can do, hey, how do I create some Azure DevOps? Maybe I need to file bugs and notify my team. Maybe I need to link in with Wonderlust. Whatever they may be, these accelerators are very, very useful. I have one on my email for Exchange. Every time I get an attachment, save it over to OneDrive. That way I never have to go searching around for where all my attachments are. I can look in one spot and I can find them and search them very easily. So we have a flow that we have created that allows us to, when a SharePoint list updates, it will go post to the channel. So this is our flow. I'm going to give it a quick edit so you can see what we've done. And literally it's very quick. When an item is created on this particular site, it's actually going to show, hey, look, this is the list I want to see any updates from. Then we're going to create an adaptive card. We have our adaptive card. We've put in some information coming from the list, and then it will actually go and post that with some requests and update back to the team. So in our teams, we have a support channel. See, where is it? Communications program. See if I can find it. We have a team that it posts to. So I'm not going to show it to you right this minute. It'll take me a couple minutes to go find it. Maybe it's this one. Let me just check. Here it is. So we have these different chats that we're having where we can do some different elements and status updates. So those are some things that you might also want to think about when you're doing your teams and integrations. So some other things to think about when you're thinking, I want to build some accelerators. Here are some quick guides that'll help you build apps in minutes, how to build a Teams app, some documentation that you may want to take a look at, how to do bots. We didn't do a lot of work with or showcase a lot of bots today, but bots are very big. How to do connectors, how to connect Power Apps and Flow, some different blogs that you might want to take a look at. I do want to showcase a couple of things here real quick on Power Apps. So in Power Apps, you can do a couple of things. One is you have, by default, a lot of accelerators that you may or may not be aware of that can help you quickly create Power Apps from scratch that will give you immediate usability. When you click on make.powerapps.com, this particular URL, and you log in with your Office 365 identity, you can click on the Create button and you can create from scratch, or you can start with some data, maybe in SharePoint or whatever, and it'll allow you to do that, and that's pretty easy. But the most powerful thing that I've seen, and they're, again, making new templates monthly, is all of these templates that you can choose. So case management, customer lookup, out of office, PDF reader, and all of these natively come right into your Power Apps and your teams because you can link to them just as I showed you before. The great thing is for the Power Apps, if you have a Power Apps license, you can go ahead, create the Power App, and then embed it inside your team. And most of the time, you do not need IT support to do so because you can link right to it using that link that the Power Apps does. So let's just quickly take a look at one of these. We'll do the onboarding tasks. We'll go ahead and call it onboarding tasks by default. It'll take it just a minute to load, but as it loads, it's actually going to build all of the pieces. It's going to build the UI, it's going to build the connections, everything that I need to actually get started, and then bring me into an edit experience where once I publish this, I can embed this in my apps as a tab with very little effort. So let's give it just a second for it to open. It's going to ask me if I want to allow these specific integrations. If your organization allows this, this is great. You can go ahead and click allow. If you find these are dimmed and the allow button is dimmed, that means your organization is not able to get access to these specific connectors, and you'll have to call IT to see if you can get them enabled for your login. So here we go, that the app is almost there. I can make changes to this. I can change the backend. I can change it to point to a database. I can change it to point to a different site. I can do anything that I need to because I have full access to all of the code that's needed to generate this. So if I do a quick preview, it says, hey, I need to do some setup. Maybe I need to do some onboarding tasks, that sort of thing. And then I can take the URL that comes with it and paste it inside my Teams. So here's my onboard tasks. I just clicked on the play. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and save, what we call it, and we will publish. It's saving. And then we're going to click that publish button. We'll share it out to our team. It'll ask me who to share to. I'll put in Rich. We'll make him a co-owner. Share. And then once I play this, I'll be able to grab that URL and drop this into Teams. So you see this web link that's over here on the left. It's a little bit dimmed out right now while it's sharing. I can copy this URL into my buffer, paste it right into Teams. So if I were to go over here to my crisis communication team, click on the plus button, choose a, whoops. Choose a Power App. And I can choose whichever one it is. See if we can find it. Looks like we have a few in here. So I'll just pick this appointment estimator, save, and it will immediately pop up. So this is something that you might want to think about as you are bringing in different apps and Power Apps, that it's very easy to add to your tabs. Other things that you might want to think about are the different documentation that has to do with the Power Platform. This particular Power Platform demos is a really nice thing to go show you how to do Power Platform. So I would suggest you go and look. This is in the Microsoft Docs Learning Channels, and you just look for Power Platform, and it shows you a lot of different demos that you can choose. This particular one I found particularly helpful in building out a Power Platform using Common Data Service and connecting into databases. Okay, with that, I believe we have just a few more minutes. So what I'd like to do is say thank you for joining us, and consider donating to several relief funds that have been very influential, not only for the team members who are hosting this event, but also around the world. United Way and International Medical Corps. Also be thinking about your local communities where you can help and how you can help, give back to the people who are needing it, and especially people that are local to you. But thank you very much, and I'll look to see if there are any questions. We're just checking. Okay, I don't see any questions at the moment. Michael, do you see any questions?
One came in is asking about the recordings of the sessions. I believe they'll be available off our website.
Perfect. Well, with that being said, I really do appreciate your time. I want to thank all of our hosts, all of our sponsors, everyone who's a part of this event. It's been really wonderful to be able to present, and hopefully we'll see you next time and on to the next session.